Digitizing DBT transfers in Manipur and Tripura in partnership with the central and state governments. We would also share some recommendations that could strengthen the social infrastructure for direct benefits transfers, followed by a discussion. My name is Tanu, and I'm a part of the Better Than Cash Alliance. We are a UN-based membership of 75 countries, companies, and international organizations who are committed to digital payments to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. We are delighted to host this learning session in partnership with the DBT Mission, Niti Aayog, and the Ministry of Finance. I would just like to make some housekeeping announcements first. Please be on mute when not speaking. We hear some sounds, so requesting everyone to please be on mute. We have a discussion built into the agenda, but if you wish to share any thoughts or questions, you'll see a chat icon on your control panel. Please feel free to leave your comments and thoughts there. We'll pick them up during the discussion session or later. It's recommended that you switch off your videos to conserve bandwidth and have faster streaming. Faster streaming because we also will be playing some videos. The entire session is being recorded, which will be available to everyone. On the participants, we really appreciate everyone making time despite the current times, which are keeping all of you very busy. We would like to welcome representatives from all the northeastern states and the central government departments. From Arunachal, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Naresh Kumar, Chief Secretary, and his team. From Sikkim, Mr. S.C. Gupta, Chief Secretary, and his team. We have representatives from Manipur, Tripura, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Nagaland, and Assam. From DBT Mission, we are honored to have Mr. Saurabh Tiwari, Mr. Arun Sharma, and their team. We also welcome the PFMS team and the DEA teams from the Ministry of Finance. And finally, representatives, including Mr. Kabilan from NPCI and delegates from the State Bank of India. I would just give a brief outline of the agenda. Sorry, the screen is just to show the partners and participants. I would just like to give a brief outline of the agenda. We'll be started off into this discussion by Mr. Saurabh Tiwari, who's the Joint Secretary at the DBT Mission. A welcome by Kay Zom, who leads our Asia Pacific work at the Better Than Cash Alliance. We'll be sharing 2 video stories of DBT recipients from Manipur and Tripura. Amit will be sharing a presentation on the lessons that we have learned through our DBT digitization initiative in Tripura and Manipur. Arun Sharma from the DBT Mission will speak to the current times and talk about the emerging issues in COVID-19. Ms. Rekha Raikar Kumar from PFMS will talk of the importance of PFMS in delivery of DBT schemes. We also have a moderated discussion for 30 minutes, and the closing will be done by Shri T. Kabilan from the Niti Aayog.
Tanu, I am Saurabh Tiwari. We are unable to see you. Is there any problem in the video?
Sir, we are keeping the videos off just to conserve bandwidth at all ends. Yeah, but if you would like to have it on during your opening remarks, please feel free. In fact, good you spoke because I would like to welcome you now to deliver the opening remarks. So I would like to welcome you to deliver the opening remarks. We can't hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Thanks, Tanu. Ms. Kezam, all the respected chief secretaries with their teams, Anna Arambam from Manipur. We have our own Arun Sharma, who is available on video conferencing, Mr. Uday Kavi, and all the participating teams and all the presenters. It's my proud privilege to be able to deliver the opening remarks for this session. And Northeast occupies a very pivotal place in the scheme of things for digital India. And our endeavor is that Northeast should lead the way And there are three basic parameters which provide the infrastructure on the basis of which DBT is made. One is the Aadhaar, which is the unique identifier with the biometrics. The second one is the bank account in which the money is to be transferred. And the third is mobile, which is a communication device on which all the information can be interchanged. Now, this was what I call the traditional model of DBT, and of late, especially last 6-7 months, we are working to upgrade this model, whereby we are looking at from a more citizen-centric perspective and trying to ensure that the citizen has a better experience right from the time that the citizen tries to apply for a DBT scheme till the time that the money is credited into the bank account of the citizen. And mobile is a very important device in this whole gamut, because we are trying that all the schemes of the government, both the central government as well as the state governments, are available on the Umang portal, which is an app of apps, where all the apps of government are displayed. They are properly catalogued so that there is an ease of surfing, and the categorization also is such that, for instance, if I go into the Umang portal as a farmer, there is a farmers category which should include all the gamut of services, information, etc. that a farmer would need. Similarly, if I enter it as a student, it would show what a student could need. For instance, scholarship, for instance, e-libraries, for instance, availability of books, etc., etc. So this is how we are trying to envision the next phase of DBT. Now, when we talk of states in general and Northeast states in particular, we tried to do a ranking exercise on DBT parameters very recently, and I'm very happy to inform that one of the states from the Northeast, that is Tripura, it secured the third rank in this DBT state performance with a score of 80.2 marks out of 100. On number 13 was Mizoram. So these were the two states which were on the top 15. At rank number 20 was Manipur, 23 Nagaland, 24 Sikkim, 27 Meghalaya, 31 Arunachal Pradesh, and 35 Assam. Assam and Manipur, Meghalaya, they have their special problems because of Aadhaar, and I'm sure because of that their ranking went down a little. But now with these states also focusing on the Aadhaar infrastructure that they have, I'm sure that they are going to improve. We were also in an endeavor to coordinate with the various states so that the DBT takes off in these states. And in this endeavor, just before the COVID, in February 2020, we held a meeting with all the states. We tried to understand what the problems are there, specifically with the northeastern states. And we had invited all the stakeholders, including the stakeholders from DOT, from the Department of Financial Services, which looks after the banking part of it. We had invited Aadhaar so that the Aadhaar arm can also be strengthened. And we had a very meaningful discussion. Unfortunately, because of the COVID outbreak, we could not follow it up, but I'm very sure that very soon we are going to do a follow-up with it. I have the Aadhaar saturation data also of the Northeast states, and some of them are doing really well. For instance, Mizoram is having a saturation of 88%, Tripura also around 88%, and of course some of the states, Assam and Meghalaya, because of historical reasons, they have a very low percentage of 30% Meghalaya, 22.5% Assam, which is dragging down their DBT performance. Similarly, for providing the telecom infrastructure in the Northeast region, the central government is committed, and we have through our USOF fund, that is the Universal Service Obligation Fund, we have tried to create a special infrastructure in the Northeast. While this is being done, you will be surprised to find that many of the northeastern states are doing quite well, even on the telecom front. Against an all India overall tele-density of 86%, the Northeast is not lagging far behind at 78%. Of course, there is Assam, which is just at 67%. So telecom is again another area which Assam has to look up. But there are other states which have a very low tele-density. Madhya Pradesh at 66%, Bihar at 52% are doing much below the Northeast. With this program of building up a telecom and mobile infrastructure in the Northeast, the Department of Telecom, as I said, has come up with a special scheme for the Northeast with 2,126 uncovered villages to be taken up for the erection of mobile towers. And as on date, about 50%, more than 50% of that has been completed. That is 1,204 towers have been completed, and 1,000, that is around 50%, are actually radiating. So I believe very soon we are going to basically overcome this problem of having a low telecom penetration in the Northeast, and that would drive the whole DBT scheme forward. Another area which is creating a lot of problems in the Northeast is the lack of banking network penetration in the Northeast. And the Honorable Home Minister here taken up a drive to ensure that every village in India has at least one brick and mortar branch within 5 kilometers of its radius. And he was driving this through the Interstate Council. And again, I am very sorry to state that because of the pandemic, from January, we couldn't hold any of those meetings. And the Northeastern zone was the only zone where we could not hold that meeting. So I'm sure that very soon we are going to embark upon that endeavor of providing banking touch points for for every village in the Northeast. And that when we mean a banking touch point, we mean a banking touch point within a radius of 5 kilometer brick and mortar of every village. As I speak, yesterday there was a very important breakthrough, I would say, in the whole DBT ecosystem, because Umang platform, of which I talked at the start of my address, has come in, has entered into an MOU with CSC, that is Common Service Center of MeitY, whereby all the Umang services, which includes a host of DBT services, there are more than 2,000 services available as of now, and many of them are state government services also. So they will be available at the Common Service Center. So even if you don't have a smartphone with a Umang app on your mobile, you can approach the CSC and avail all the government services in an assisted mode through these CSCs. And there are 390,000 CSCs. I don't have the breakup for the Northeast, how many they have there, but this also would go a big step towards helping DBT in the Northeast. As I have been told, this is more of a learning experience, and we are going to have experience sharing sessions from the DBT recipients also. One recipient from the Manipur Old Age Pension Scheme, then there would be a recipient of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban from Tripura. Then we would then we would be exposed to lessons from Tripura and Manipur on their various initiatives. And of course, DBT Cabinet Secretariat would also be giving our perspective in how things are going to unfold by Arun. We have another session by Assam, who are trying to adopt the recommendation of, and they are coming up a presentation on the Orangoi program that aims to reach 1.7 million women. So I'm looking forward to all these inputs and try to understand what more we can do. And all this would, of course, be curated by BTCA, who has taken the initiative. I would like to congratulate Kezom and her team for taking this initiative and organizing this session amid the pandemic. And we also have the benefit of listening to Shri T. Kabilan from the Niti Aayog, who is the Director Northeast there, to give his perspective on how things are going to unfold in the Northeast. So with these words, I end my opening remarks, and I look forward to hearing and understanding and trying to solve whatever problems are there, and also in order to understand all the good practices that are being followed in the Northeast as far as DBT is concerned, so that we can replicate them across the country, so that we do not reinvent the wheel. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for these opening remarks, very inspiring, and also for sharing the progress that's being made under the key pieces of infrastructure to really include all the Northeast citizens, but more importantly, to also ensure that the learnings and the good practices from the Northeast are also being shared across the country. A very warm welcome again to all the Northeast states and partners on the line. As the Asia Pacific lead at the Better Than Cash Alliance, we are delighted to have such rich, diverse and senior participation from the region and also from the center, DBT Mission, Niti Aayog, the PFMS team at the Ministry of Finance, the team from DEA, DFS, NPCI and the State Bank of India. In COVID-19, the tremendous leadership of the central government and the Northeast states has played a pivotal role in ensuring that most of the eligible beneficiaries of the 44 million people in the Northeast continue to digitally receive the cash transfers of the Prime Minister's Garib Kalyan Yojana. Indeed, India, along with the Northeast, has been leading the dialogue on the potential of technology to bring in greater and faster change to society, and has through various initiatives been a model in implementing initiatives where the barrier to technology is at its lowest ever. In 2019, with the request of the central government and with the states of Tripura and Manipur, the Alliance and the DBT Mission together undertook an initiative to support the on-ground implementation of key DBT schemes in Manipur and Tripura. The objective was really to learn together, to scale and catalyze the development of the broader digital ecosystem through the digitization of the large volume government transfers to citizens. This learning session today will share experiences from those two states with the following key learning objectives. Firstly, to share experiences on the key opportunities to improve DBT digitization implementation with a focus on greater inclusion and bringing these transfers closer to the people, whether it's cash out, whether it's digital usage. And it's not just Manipur and Tripura. The great thing about today's learning session is that we have this amazing platform to share across different states in the region. So we'd love to hear from other states that are also on the line. Secondly, to share specific opportunities to improve inclusion, especially for women and the vulnerable population segments who face different and additional barriers. And third, and most importantly, dialogue as a region to seek suggestions on continuous learning and actions to scale the commitment to responsible digital payments across the region. At the Better Than Cash Alliance, we are so pleased and so humbled to be of service to the Northeast. And we hope that today's dialogue is really a continuation of the tremendous leadership you have demonstrated and the learning across the region and the sharing of good and successful practices that will shape the broader digital economy agenda, not just for the Northeast, but also in India. So with that, let's start this session listening to some very important stories from the beneficiaries themselves. The first story is about Jamuna Nath from Tripura, who's fought financial adversity to get a roof over her head. And when we met her, she had rented out a portion and is now saving money in her bank account for her daughter's future. She's a recipient of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban scheme. The second story is from Shri Lukram Gaura Singh, who taught us how you are never too old to receive digital transfers. He learned about the scheme, opened his first bank account at the age of 70 years, and with some help, he has now learned how to use an ATM, make online transactions, and of course, he opened the bank account to receive government transfers under the Manipur Old Age Pension Scheme and is now able to meet some of his basic needs with the benefits that he receives. With this, let's hear from them directly.
আমার ছিল আমার এইদিকে একটা ঘর ছিল এই বাড়িতেই, কিন্তু এই ঘরটা বেশি একটা ভালো ছিল না। বৃষ্টির দিনে খুবই অসুবিধা হতো, জল পড়তো, তারপর প্লাস্টার ভেঙে ভেঙে পড়তো। প্রধানমন্ত্রী যোজনাতে একটা মানে এরকম ঘর, পাকা ঘর দেওয়া হচ্ছে বা এরকম। তো যাদের পাকা বাড়ি করার আর্থিক মানে ক্ষমতা নেই তারাও পারবে। তো সেভাবে আমিও গেলাম। আমার ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট খোলার সময় আধার কার্ড লেগেছে। আমি 1,66,666 টাকা পেয়েছি। আমি ফার্স্ট ইনস্টলমেন্টে যখন পেয়েছি তখন তো 33,000 পেয়েছি। তারপরে ফটো তুলতে হয়েছে, কিছু কিছু একটা থাকে প্রক্রিয়া, ফটো তুলে পাঠিয়েছি। তারপরে 6 মান্থ এরকমের মধ্যেই পেয়ে গেছি। আমি এতটুকু ঘর করতে পারতাম না যদি না আমি গভর্নমেন্ট থেকে কিছু এই যে সাহায্য পেয়েছি, এটার থেকে কিছুটা সম্ভব হয়েছে। আমি ব্যাংকের অ্যাকাউন্টে দিয়ে আমি স্কুলের ফিস, তারপরে ইলেকট্রিসিটি বিল, তারপরে গ্যাসের বিল, এগুলি সব কিছুই দিতে পারি ব্যাংকের অ্যাকাউন্ট দিয়ে। ব্যাংকে টাকা থাকলে যে মানে ভীষণ সুবিধা, এটা আমি একদম খুবই ভালোভাবে বুঝি। কেন, আমার ঘরে আগুনও লেগেছিল, অনেক টাকা ছিল ঘরের মধ্যে, টাকা তো সবই গেল। আমার তো ব্যাংকে টাকা ওই রাখতে ভীষণ দরকার বা ইচ্ছাও। যেমন আমার এখন যে মানে পরিস্থিতি, যে কোনো লাইনে পড়াশোনা করানোর জন্য যেমন টাকা থাকাটা ভীষণভাবে জরুরি। যেমন সামনের ঘরগুলি একটু ভাড়া দিয়েছি, সেটাতেও আমার আর্থিক একটু সাহায্য হচ্ছে। ভালোই চলছে এখন মোটামুটি।
हानती आई गाड़ी थौजरमी पब्लिक की अदुगी हुजिकती अहन ओरबनिना आई करीमते सुद्रे पैसा थोक्तरे करीमते सुबो ngमद्रे हिंगोन मतेक खरा सुरगा हिंगनबगी आईगी इमुंग मनुंगी चाननबगी दमक्तदी तौजै ओले पेंशन की मतांगदा अखोइगी एमएलए माना पालिंगी मतमदुदा ओले पेंशन लहोरो तादोइदी पैसा मरी थोक्तबनिना अदुना मयाम लाओ अदिगे फोटो पोरो अदिगे आधार पोरो अदुगा बैंक पासबुक अमा हांगनी अदुगा बैंक ते चंगकनी बैंक ते चंगका मोइना लौथोक सकदबनी हाइदना हाइबदगी गवर्नमेंट सर्विस तौब नतबनिना ओल्ड एज पेंशन खरा खरा था अमगी चनी फंगबसिना इमुंग मनुंगी खरदु कानगनी हाइदना एमएलए ना पौता सिगी मतांग ओल्ड एज पेंशन जी फंगबदगी खंगपो मतमदा बैंक की लाइन जो फजना खंगजरेदना बैंक ते चतपा हाजिना मतम खरा सांग लौगी अदुगी यारगदी एटीएम दा ओइना थंबिरसु याम नुंगाइजगनी ना हाइजनी अदुगी ओल्ड एज पेंशन फंगबदगी दे अदुगी मतिक नुंगाइ खिजिक्तंग लुपा मंगा तरादा लेरमदबदु लुपा यांखै मचा मचाना चंगवा म चातु लिसिंग अमा लाको मतमदा इमुंग मनुंगी हरावबदुना एस ओलेज पेंशनजिदी अदुकी मतिक फबजानी हाइबसे अखोय खंजरे कदोंगै लाकदगे कदोंगै पिरकदगे हाइबसे पुनिंगदा अदुदा खंदना अखोय नुंगाइनी खिजिक्तजु मतेंग पांगनी हाइब इमुंग मनुंगी वाखंदा लेजै
And now for the main presentation from Amit, our India lead at the Better Than Cash Alliance, who will speak about the lessons and the learnings that we had, which is really lessons and learnings from Tripura and Manipur, the two states where we had an implementation journey. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, Kezam. Just wanted to confirm if you're able to view my screen.
Yes, we are, Amit.
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amit Kuru, and I'm part of the regional team for the Better Than Cash Alliance based in New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us in today's learning session. This initiative, led by the state governments of Manipur and Tripura, is an excellent example of the leadership of the Northeast in digitizing the DBT transfers. As Mr. Saurabh Tiwari mentioned in his opening address, that Northeast region happens to be a focus area for the Government of India, with commitments to leverage new age technologies for addressing some of the unique challenges facing the region. This intention to drive development using technology is clearly laid out in the Digital Northeast Vision 2022. The Digital Northeast 2022 identifies 8 digital thrust areas which are essential for the digital transformation and empowerment of the region. It is strongly believed that use of these inclusive, affordable, and developmental technology will facilitate the region's path towards sustainable development. Our focus in this session, however, is on direct benefits transfer programs and how has the DRAM Trinity enabled successful implementation of the same in the region. We'd also like to highlight some of the areas which offer the highest potential for improvements in the future. As we all know that banking forms the foundation for any digitization efforts with social transfers. And this is the same case in the Northeastern region. We looked at some of the data for the past couple of years and realized that while India has made great progress in the area of financial inclusion, the same is reflected is also in the progress that's been made by the Northeastern states. As far as bank accounts are concerned, we believe that majority of the states have crossed 55% mark when it comes to penetration of formal financial services in their own respective geographies. We also see that the per capita account ownership has increased for women. While there is a lot of work to be done, this is an area where significant progress has been made in the last 10 years. As far as the physical infrastructure is concerned, while the number of branches have increased, again in the last 10 years, there is scope for improvement, especially in the rural areas. This also offers us the opportunity to use digital technologies and the emerging digital solutions to improve service delivery at the last mile. Despite the challenges, a combination of penetration of bank accounts, improving infrastructure on the telecom side of things, general awareness amongst the beneficiaries has led to an increase in the flow of funds through the DBT mode. Based on data available from the DBT Bharat portal, there has been a 120% increase in the last 2 financial years in terms of payments flowing through the system via PFMS. To summarize, we would like to say that there is an existing infrastructure that's available in the northeastern states, which lays the foundation for digitizing most of the social transfer schemes in the region. It also gives us an opportunity to look at areas where the usage is still low. While looking at the data, we realized that while the DBT transfer were happening digitally, there was still scope for improvement as far as promoting retail transactions are concerned at the citizen's end and keeping funds digital. The Better Than Cash Alliance has been working very closely with the Direct Benefits Transfer Mission as well as central ministries and the state for the past couple of years. In recent years, we conducted a series of workshops, each workshop covering a specific scheme and conducted across the country in 3 different locations. These workshops were attended by 25 states as well as union territories, 3 central ministries, and 5 central government agencies. In addition to knowledge sharing, we have supported projects which support the implementation of programs. And in today's session, we would like to talk about the project that we supported in the states of Manipur and Tripura. To give you a quick overview of the project, we started off by looking at a total of 4 schemes, 2 in Manipur and 3 in Tripura. The Manipur Old Age Pension Scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana implemented by the Social Welfare Departments. In Tripura, the Swachh Bharat Mission and the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana implemented by the Urban Development Department. In addition to these 4 schemes that we started off, we also had the privilege of working very closely, collaborating, and offering our support and assistance to the Department of Fisheries and the Department of Tribal Affairs and Hills in the state of Manipur, and the Department of Education and Social Welfare Department in the state of Tripura. The project was essentially broken down into 3 phases. And each of these phases focused on some of the core steps that are associated with the DBT transfer process. As an external agency, we categorized most of the core processes into 5 major areas: scheme onboarding, beneficiary enrollment, payments, grievance management, and monitoring and evaluation. The first stage of the process looked at conducting field research and assessing the requirements of the beneficiaries. As part of this activity, a field survey was carried out both in Manipur and Tripura, where direct interaction with the beneficiaries happened, and we collected information, feedback, and their experience both with the DBT process as well as with banking services and Aadhaar authentication services. A series of recommendations and findings were shared with the stakeholders in early 2019, basis which feedback was collected from the departments, which led to the design of the second stage, which focused on process analysis and recommendations. Taking the feedback from the stakeholders, the team did a deep dive into supply side processes and barriers, in understanding the existing implementation processes and identifying some of the challenges and potential solutions for those challenges. As a next step, we looked at our own project design, available resources, and the time available for us to support activities which would lead to maximum benefit for the states. And as part of that process, we identified supporting the implementation of PFMS as that one activity, which was A, common to all schemes, B, was easily scalable, and 3, where our support would have maximum impact. This led to a series of technical workshops in participation with the states and the scheme implementing departments in both the states of Manipur and Tripura. As part of the project, we also identified certain recommendations and observations, which though not part of the support process, we believe are important to keep in mind as we develop new schemes and also improve the efficiency of the existing schemes. Under scheme onboarding, while we realize there are multiple activities that are carried out both at the center and the state level, including designing the software which is specific to the particular scheme, we realize that regular engagement on PFMS is extremely valuable for all parties involved. This is also important because of the change in personnel at the state level, the fact that the platform itself is becoming extremely sophisticated, adding more features, and has multiple functionalities built into it. So we believe that a regular engagement on PFMS and around its features and how it's used is something which is very, very valuable, both to the center as well as to states. Under beneficiary enrollment, we realized that awareness, understanding of the eligibility criteria, as well as the documents that are required for one to successfully enroll, are the most crucial factors. This is something that we also observed during our field surveys, where we saw a gap between the actual eligibility that was prescribed by the government, what the beneficiary thought the eligibility was, and their own understanding of what documentation would be required to prove that eligibility. We came across some cases where, probably because of lack of understanding of the correct eligibility, people went ahead, submitted documents, while it was very clear to us that in most of the cases, they did not fit in the criteria. So we believe that the number one activity that can be carried out under this step is generating awareness around the eligibility and the criteria for successful beneficiary election. In this, we realize that community level assets and organizations can play a very, very critical role. And while there is scope for involving them as part of the formal process, we realize that there is a lot of scope for driving these ideas in the field. Another thing that we would want to mention here is the flexibility to decentralize data operations when it comes to collecting the data from the field and converting it into sort format and feeding into the system. Because of the challenges around connectivity, availability of manpower, there can be at times a time lag between the time when the application is received and the time it is entered into the system. This leads to delays in processing of the payment and communication to the beneficiary in case he or she is not found to be eligible. And we felt that by decentralizing these operations, these issues can be addressed efficiently. Coming on to payments, our experience has been that PFMS addresses a lot of issues around payment processing as well as traceability and accountability on both sides. But in addition to that, we felt that expansion of the payment points at the district level, partnership with banks, new age companies, organizations like the Common Services Centers, and the various financial inclusion initiatives that are being led by the banks as well as the regulator are absolutely critical to increasing the transparency as well as the experience of the beneficiaries. In this case, we also want to highlight the potential that's there of partnering with multiple fintech companies. As we all know, that fintech companies are looking at innovative ways of engaging with the citizens. And this is one area where a lot of partnership is possible with mutual benefits on both sides. I would also like to mention the recent partnership between the government of Assam and Flipkart, where the government has partnered with the e-commerce platform to promote handicraft from the state. So partnerships like these, which offer benefits both to the technology companies as well as to states, are extremely important and valuable to address these issues. The last 2 points are on grievance management and monitoring and evaluation. And under grievance management, we felt that there were at times shortage of two-way communication systems at the state level. And there was lack of visibility on the status of the application once the application is submitted by a beneficiary from his village. So the distance between the time when an application is submitted to the time it's entered in the system, verified, and payments received, we found that gap to be quite long. So establishing systems where regular updates are available to the citizens on the status of the application and the payments are one key area where we felt there's a lot of potential to innovate and offer solutions. On monitoring and evaluation, one of the key indicators that define the success of a scheme is the number of beneficiaries that have received funds under a particular scheme. And while that is a core indicator for the overall success of the scheme, the beneficiaries' experience throughout the chain, starting from the awareness campaign, his or her coming to know of the scheme, going through the application process, filling in the application forms, getting together the required documentation, waiting for a confirmation, receiving the funds, and then traveling to the nearest bank branch to take out the funds. This entire experience actually defines the citizen's experience with the overall DBT design. And here we felt there are opportunities to study areas outside of the payments and the verification domain. Niti Aayog has taken a great initiative to do an M&E exercise for social transfer schemes. We're also aware that some of the line ministries are initiating the process to understand the impact of these schemes. But we feel that state level initiatives in collaboration with third-party evaluators would go a long way to gather feedback and indicate areas where improvements can be done. To summarize, this particular project focused on the DBT schemes in 2 states. We studied the process of streamlining the general enrollment and the payment process with the objective to enhance efficiency and reducing cost. The access to DBT beneficiaries through digital payments was an area that we focused on specifically because of a focus on payments. And we felt that enhancing communications and process improvement across departments would lead to a significant improvement in the government service delivery in the region. In terms of the overall impact, all of these schemes together reached out to 134,000 beneficiaries in 2 states, with the total fund mobilization of 126 crores. As Mr. Tiwari mentioned, that the northeastern states have been doing extremely well when it comes to digitizing payments in the DBT schemes. So we are happy to mention Tripura and Manipur as well as their respective ranks across India. We would also want to congratulate the PMMVY team from Manipur for having received an award back in February this year for exemplary performance in PMMVY implementation. The award was given by the Honorable Minister, Ministry of Women and Child Development. Our partners from the Department of Fisheries have taken a lead in digitizing the benefits transfer at their end. And we are very happy to know that in May 2020 of this year, the Government of India announced a scheme for supporting fisheries with a budget of 20,000 crore rupees. So we believe that these are very, very positive steps and achievements that the states have taken. And we hope that as we all move ahead, several of these improvements that are possible would be incorporated in the process. We'd also like to summarize and share with all the participants top 4 key takeaways at a planning level, where we believe that stakeholders within and outside of the state can play a major role. The number 1 recommendation that we feel very strongly about is the implementation of a common enrollment system. While we believe that the digital identity through Aadhaar has been centralized and there is no need for schemes to collect and verify IDs, payments have been digitized to a very large extent. The issue of eligibility still remains a very, very localized issue. And the beneficiary has to go through this process of establishing eligibility every time he or she applies for a scheme. So the proposal from our side is to establish some kind of a database where, apart from the identity and the bank account details, the eligibility of a person is defined to some extent possible. The second suggestion is to provide systems where it's possible to enter into continuous enrollment. We realize that most of the schemes run the enrollment process in project mode. So there's a start date and there's an end date. But what COVID has revealed that during crises like these, several of people who are not supposed to be vulnerable or were not considered vulnerable, especially the migrant workers, became vulnerable overnight. And they had no way to enroll themselves for any of the benefits that the government was planning to do. So ensuring that there's a continuous enrollment happening and the database that we have of beneficiaries is more dynamic than what it is today would go a long way in helping us reach out to the right set of beneficiaries. Capacity building at the states with respect to PFMS and Aadhaar are also very, very important because of the changing nature of the rules around Aadhaar usage, the laws, and also the functionality of the software. And finally, there is the possibility of leveraging new emerging technologies, especially payments technologies, to ensure that the experience of the beneficiaries receiving the funds can be improved to a large extent. This is specifically important where there are challenges of physical infrastructure, limitation, fixed timings for the banks to open and close, and the fact that people want a free and flexible access to their funds as and when they want. So digitizing that part of the chain would go a long way in making the experience easy for the beneficiaries. So to summarize, we believe that there are multiple opportunities for both process-related improvements, as is, and also for strengthening the overall implementation and effectiveness of DBT programs from a strategic perspective. We feel that there is a strong need to further align the process to meet the requirements of women and vulnerable population segments, ensure that there is available data for the vulnerable segments and women beneficiaries so that informed decisions can be taken. And finally, regular engagements are needed both at the regional level and the national level to keep abreast of all initiatives being undertaken by the states to promote learnings, sharing of experiences, sharing of problems, and coming towards a plan that incorporates learning from across the country. Finally, since we are facing the COVID crisis, we strongly believe that the existing DBT system has played a major role in helping the government deliver the economic package to citizens across the country. That has been the result of the hard work that started maybe 5-10 years ago. But the DBT crisis has also revealed multiple areas for improvements. The need to move away from scheme-based silos where there is integrated thinking at the state level on how benefits can be distributed, sharing of data amongst different schemes, building on data of beneficiary that has been collected by one scheme to launch another scheme. All these possibilities remain. Driving digital innovations for cash delivery and beneficiary identification is one of the other areas where we feel a lot of work can be done. And finally, an overarching institutional framework for coordinating these multiple scheme mechanisms. These multiple elements that constitute a successful DBT transfer, starting from technology, regulation, scheme design, finance, all of those elements, if they can be brought together into a single framework, that will help us drive the digitization of schemes in a much scalable and efficient manner. Thank you very much. We hope this presentation was useful for you. I would now like to invite Mr. Arun Sharma, Director DBT Mission, Cabinet Secretariat, Government of India, to share his views on emerging issues in COVID-19, a reflection on the recommendations by DBT Mission.
Thanks, Amit. Thank you for the presentation. Am I audible?
Yes, Arun, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'll jump straight into the presentation, and I would like to say hello to everyone who's connected here. And just reflecting on the summary of your slide, the recommendations, I think these are good recommendations. Just not to lose context, I'll just dwell on that a little bit. Monitoring and evaluation, grievance redressal, awareness are where the government is a little weak, and this is the value that agencies like the BTCA or the World Bank or multilaterals, they bring to the government on how to strengthen these systems and how to connect better with the citizens, because we come from a supply side, and our effort in pushing and reorienting the supply side mechanism has seen the progress that we've been discussing. And I think this collaboration where your agencies bring to us on how programs are functioning, how beneficiaries can be better targeted, better connected, and their feedback would be heard, is certainly a welcome step. So this is what I'd like to pull out from your presentation, and that's well appreciated. I'll jump into my presentation, and I'll request you to click so we can go to the first slide. So as we're talking about the Northeast, yes, it's a place for great with resources, which is, I think, largely untapped. And as you've mentioned in your presentation, and other officers have also spoken, it's work in progress, and there are so many sectors where the Northeast is yet to see their full potential. Next. The next slide is the key, basically, of what all we are discussing on DBT implementation. We have summarized it as these 5 or 6 items, beginning with the constitution of a DBT cell in the states, which provide the overall mechanism for coordination amongst the various entities. These are mentioned on the slide, but this helps in creating an ownership apparatus with the state departments, with the state government, so that their complete applicability, their complete implementation is in the hands of the DBT cell. And any question that is there for any stakeholder can be done centrally. This has been the biggest takeaway from our own experience, where to begin with, the DBT mission was constituted in the Cabinet Secretariat to give it a supra-organizational structure so that the coordination becomes easier. The next step is the toughest. In the 5-6 years that DBT has been in operation, end-to-end digitization is something where we're still trying to complete. And this involves the entire processes, from beneficiary application to verification to payments. Moving our paper-based or manual systems to a digital ecosystem requires creation of systems, requires everybody speaking an IT-friendly language, which most of our people don't understand or did not want to understand in the beginning. Then we have the financial management systems. There's PFMS, and various states have their own financial management systems in one form or the other. But these capture just more than the bank accounts in the details of the beneficiary. They're also useful systems for accounting, for reconciliation, for capturing failures, for capturing compliances by various banks and by various departments. So they are very powerful platforms that need to be leveraged. Then, of course, the connectivity issues and connectivity with respect to the internet, banking, and all other rails of the digital ecosystem. And then the finer points around beneficiary authentication and ultimately the last mile access. So these are the tenets of implementing a successful DBT program. And this is what we have used to rank various ministries and various state governments. I'm spending a little more time on this particular slide because this is the essence of everything that we do in the DBT mission. As Amit had mentioned, we had done some scoring. On the next slide, there are state-wise scores on DBT, and Tripura has done exceptionally well. It's number 3 in the country, but other states are also trying to catch up, and this has given a competitive streak amongst various states. And the new Chief Secretary of Manipur, I think Anna from Manipur is connected. He's very keen to see that within 3 months, Manipur goes from 20 to the top 5, which is basically what our idea was, to promote the competition amongst various states. And a similar ranking is also available for central ministries if one is interested. Next. This is, we come from, as I said, the supply side, in which we talk about the policymakers' perspective, and it's a larger governance come economics question for us, which I'll not go into at this moment, but there's a larger plan, just much bigger than just making sure that benefits reach the intended beneficiary. That's more of an operational efficacy, but these are larger questions of public finance, budgeting, accounting, given the central state relationships as per our constitution, they all get impacted. Next. This is the DBT transfer ecosystem. I think we're all aware, in the outer circle is the regulatory or the institutional setup, which provide these overarching framework and legislations. And in the inner circle are the components that add up the last mile or the necessary infrastructure. And I think this is again self-explanatory. And the slides are available for anybody to see. We've added more information than I would probably cover in this session. Next. So this is very important to ensure that, first of all, there is coverage on the ground, and then we can deliver. Recently, there's a MOU that has been signed between the CSC and the NEGD, the National E-Governance Division of Ministry of Information and Technology. So as Joint Secretary mentioned, that we are trying to put more and more applications on the Umang platform. And this is, in short, the most important initiative we've undertaken in these COVID times to ensure that the beneficiary has access to all DBT services, schemes and services that are meant for a beneficiary. So even if there is no monetary transfer or monetary gain involved, if there's a service for an end beneficiary, it should be available on an app, on a mobile, which is with the poorest of the poor. And of course, there are larger questions of connectivity, of whether things work on a smartphone or not. But we've taken this step, and we have done a lot in these 4-5 months. The progress will be visible, I think, in another couple of months, where everything is available at once. But this, in short, is our main sort of delivery in these 4-5 months. Next. These are again, this is a slide on the telecom connectivity, on how we've identified villages, and then out of that, how many are covered and what is the target left. We realize that the banking and the telecom connectivity in the Northeast states is the poorest compared to the rest of the country. And that's where we are looking at. Next is the teledensity slide of the country, where we have on an average 86% across the country. Obviously, the more urbanized states have a much higher teledensity compared to the rural parts of the country. And the challenge is to pair this gap. So this is the main endeavor. Next, then we come to the financial aspect. If you look at the last column, this is RBI data. As of March 2020, you can see the phenomenal increase in all parameters here, in banking outlets, in rural or urban locations, number of ATMs, POS devices, etc. There's a significant jump in the POS devices, which is the mainstay of providing financial access. And of course, the definitions have changed from providing simply approach to access in I think all stakeholders. Next. So these are some of the initiatives that were specifically taken by RBI during for financial inclusions and deepening digital payments. This is a summary across multiple reports, multiple subcommittees, wherein we've looked at intense digital drives. There is a separate BC certification program that agencies have been asked to undertake so that it brings about standardization. And of course, training and capacity building across the board. Amit had also mentioned it as a recommendation, which is well accepted. We need to keep reskilling our service providers so that they know what is to be done. Next is there's something called a Jan Dhan Darshak mobile app, which is available on Google Play Store. You can download it and you can see nearest to you what is the financial infrastructure point available. And this is a combination of all bank branches, ATMs, BCs, CSCs, etc. And from that, if you work it backwards, you'll realize these many villages in the states, like Arunachal Pradesh has the highest, 1,000 plus villages within a 5 kilometer radius. And this is all GIS mapped. So you can see on a map as to how far are things not available. So this gave us a handle. This information was passed on to DFS and to banks to work and augment their financial infrastructure point. Of course, there is a topographical element here. In the Northeast area, if there are hills, then it may show that places are barely 2-3 kilometers apart, but if there's a hillock in between, it changes things. But nonetheless, it still gives a good workable point for an entity. So if a bank wants to set up an ATM, this gives them a better sort of resource to where to plan it. Next. Now, this is again important. Most of the drive that is going on, we saw in the earlier slide that this was barely in few thousands 10 years ago. And from there, it has now reached to 5.3 million micro ATMs and POS terminals. So this is, there are two things here. One is the Aadhaar-enabled payment system, which as banks take up more and more membership of. So there's a membership issue. And then, of course, larger compliance-based issues within the AEPS. But during these 4 or 5 months, it was heartening to see that the AEPS transactions have picked up tremendously. In the past 2-3 years, when UPI or the Unified Payments Interface came out and the transactions are being done on the IMPS rails of the NPCI, AEPS was not performing that well. There was questions of switching charges, acceptance. First of all, the banks themselves were not taking memberships of AEPS, but this is again something that we were pushing, and it was very heartening to see that AEPS transactions have shot off, and India has the largest biometric-based payment system in the world, which is backed by which runs on AEPS. So there are some limitations which, of course, the RBI will look at once there is sufficient evidence to show that there is both consumer side awareness and confidence in play, and that systems can provide. But this is something that is really picked up. Next. Then these are some, again, compliance issues that we enforce, that all our payments need to have a DBT scheme code, which allows the financial institutions to track DBT payments, to monitor where things are pending, where files are pending, and to expedite these payments and reconciliation system. PFMS, which Rekha ma'am will talk about after me, is now mandatory. So that again brings out one uniform playing field for all banks and for all beneficiaries to be connected. And then, of course, we keep bringing out measures for small accounts so that there is no credit failure, that money can be pushed into all small accounts. And if there are any KYC requirements pending, then the bank can contact the beneficiary and ask them to fulfill those KYC requirements. But the idea is not to deny credit going into any account for DBT payments. Next. So this, I think we've covered. Aadhaar has 3 roles, and this is again something we often forget, but it's very, very important that Aadhaar is used as an identity instrument. It is used as a payments instrument, as a channel for routing payments using the Aadhaar payments bridge, where just a number, Aadhaar number, becomes the financial address. And lastly, as we discussed earlier, the AEPS, where money can be withdrawn, transferred, remitted using the AEPS up to a certain value. Next. Now, this is again important for larger purposes. Northeast has been difficult to implement Aadhaar in the initial days. I remember we were getting from, I think, submissions from states saying that there is a religious angle in implementing Aadhaar also. But I think we've covered a lot of ground since. Assam and Meghalaya were left out in the Aadhaar Act itself. So there is a historic reason for low penetration there. But again, things are picking up now, and they will be at par with the rest of the states in the Northeast. So the last slide that I have is the way forward. And again, this summarizes the first slide that I explained regarding end-to-end digitization, which I think all speakers so far have said about building databases, clean, pointed, targeted databases, the efficacy of the DBT cell, which brings in ownership of all top officials so that they know what's happening and all stakeholders are more or less on the same page, and there are review mechanisms in place. Last mile delivery of benefits through BCs, wallets, ATMs, etc. And of course, the use of Aadhaar. And these are the parameters that we continuously use to monitor and rank states, schemes, ministries as such. And now the Prime Minister's office has also built a dashboard, a portal on which this data is being provided, and they also in turn will be coming up with their own rankings. So I'll stop here, and I believe there is a question and answer round, so we can talk more if needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. I'll request you to give us a few seconds to set the next presentation. While we are setting up the next presentation, I would like to correct some of the data that we had shared in our presentation previous to Mr. Arun. And this is regarding the rank that Manipur has achieved for effective implementation of PMMVY in India. Manipur has been ranked 3rd all India and not 20th, as we erroneously mentioned, in the population category of below 1 crore. So we just wanted to make sure that we correct that. I would now like to invite Ms. Rekha Raikar Kumar, Joint Controller General of Accounts, Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance, and will request her to speak on the topic, importance of PFMS in delivery of DBT schemes in the Northeastern region, capacity building for scheme implementing agencies. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I think I am audible. Good evening, everybody. I am aware about the constraint of time, so I will be mainly focusing on what is PFMS about, what DBT is doing, DBT schemes are there in PFMS, and what is it that we could do and has brought a lot of satisfaction during COVID times in terms of focusing on actual social transfers to the citizens. Next slide, please. So, as I said, I will be covering these areas. In the year 2014, Ministry of Finance had decided to expand the web-based IT platform called PFMS to cover digitization of payments and operations of whole of Government of India, and ensure that tracking of central government funds to the last beneficiary is possible, and also to enable just-in-time releases of funds for the implementation of all the social welfare schemes of the Government of India. I am very happy to mention here that currently about 99.6% of all the payments in the civil ministries are in digital mode through PFMS. The gap, that is the issuance of physical checks, is about 0.4%, and that is also restricted in a large way. In fact, during COVID times, I'm very happy to share that we could make payments in 395 schemes, covering more than 636 crore transactions, and the amount that is disbursed during this 2021 till today is a little more than 1 lakh crores. It's actually about 1,23,000 crores. Out of which the portion which has gone to the 7 sisters that we are today having a learning session about is a little more than 8,000 crores during the period from 24th March, from where the lockdown started, till 24th August, 2 days before. So as you can see that, next slide please. This is the mandate given to PFMS for running all the central sector schemes compulsorily on PFMS portal by Finance Ministry. Next, please. As you can see, the tracking of funds and just in time is the main purpose for which this web-based portal needs to be used. So there are various modules which enable a user to use it effectively. I will be mainly talking to you about the DBT module. Next, please. As you can see, there are many interfaces and reports which tells us exactly how much money has come from the Government of India to a particular state. If you can notice, Arunachal Pradesh is at number 2 in this report, and you can see that in last 5 or 6 months, what exactly is the amount that has gone to the Arunachal Pradesh Treasury. There is another route in which non-treasury releases are also done by the Government of India. This particular report do not cover that those payments. Those payments to each of the northeastern states, which has happened during the COVID times, I will be covering slightly later in the presentation. Next, please. This is exactly the process flow that we have and the challenges that we are facing in DBT payments. Since my earlier speakers, Saurabh Tiwari and Arun Sharma, has already talked about the challenges faced, I would not like to repeat them here. But as you can see, the first and foremost thing which is important for us is the last mile delivery and the confirmation of the benefit received by a citizen. The challenges are mainly for PFMS is the lack of authentication mechanism. Many of the payments get failed even though the ministries are trying to push them. For example, in PM Kisan, wherein we give payment to the farmers directly in their account, almost 78% of the rejections are because the Aadhaar details or the account details of the user, of the beneficiary, are not verified by the field nodal agencies or by the field nodal offices. So low Aadhaar penetration, lack of IT-enabled systems in northeastern area, and manual data entry errors are some of the biggest reasons of which are still keeping the beneficiaries away from the benefits. Regarding the grievance redressal, which was mentioned by 2 speakers earlier, I will be dealing with it slightly later in the presentation. Next, please. Next, please. This is the fund flow, and since I will be sharing this presentation with the BTCA, I think it will be of lot of use for the other users. I will not spend much time on this. Next, please. The DBT payments, the AE Aadhaar-based payments and the account-based payments are routed through this particular way. That is exactly the process flow is shown in this. Next, please. As you can see, PFMS Public Financial Management System is integrated with almost more than 500 banks in India. And those banks which are not integrated with PFMS are also able to pay their beneficiaries through the destination bank concept. So you can say that a lot of efforts are going on so that all the major banks, the urban cooperative banks, the foreign banks, as well as the regional rural banks get covered and get integrated with the PFMS platform. Next, please. There are certain monitoring mechanisms devised in DBT payments and which are done on a daily basis. For example, here you can see in this particular report of the centrally sponsored schemes, how many transactions have happened and out of them, how much amount is paid. Next, please. More important is here we are showing the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. You can see that under Arunachal Pradesh is showing total transactions 273 and Assam is showing 62,312 transactions. When I click up on them, each of these transactions enables me to see what is the name of the beneficiary, what is the amount he has got. Is there any amount which is still pending, which is not delivered to him? Where does he stay? What are the district, which is the state that he belongs to? All this data is easily possible to monitor through the dashboard, which we have provided to most of the stakeholders. Next, please. These are the COVID payments during 2021 through the DBT. As you can see that out of 395 schemes through which we have paid this amount of 1,23,000 crore, the northeastern states have received 7,377 crores till 25th of August. I will be going state-wise in a little while from now. Next, please. This is the home page of the DBT dashboard. Herein, as you can see, that for any particular state, whenever I click on that state, I am able to see which are the different DBT schemes of that particular state, how much amount is paid to the DBT beneficiaries, what is the gender-wise segregation, how many males and how many females are and transgenders are paid through a particular DBT scheme. I can also see on our right, if you can see, the beneficiary bank-wise list. So here, one can see that which bank is paying to how many beneficiaries and whether those payments are UID based or they are non-UID based. What is the portion of the cooperative banks for that particular scheme, for that particular state? You can see that the total payment and the number of beneficiaries are also shown in the chart below. So the moment you take your cursor to different aspects of any scheme, one can easily see what is it. And this is a dynamic data. So once in 24 hours, this data is refreshed. So you can actually have a feel of what is happening in the state in terms of DBT payments. Next, please. The DBT payments in the northeastern states, we have segregated it so that you actually get to know which are the central sector schemes, which are the central sponsored schemes. I'm very happy to share with you that many of the state government schemes are also in DBT module of PFMS. So if you take, for example, Arunachal Pradesh, you can clearly see that the total beneficiaries that we have paid in Arunachal Pradesh during these COVID times are about 5 lakh and the amount is 1,448 crores. In the similar way, in each of the 7 sisters, we can have this data. In fact, I am very happy to share with you that around 65 lakh beneficiaries from Food and Supplies, Civil Supplies Department of Gujarat were paid through COVID-19 welfare program to most of the migrant workers who lost their jobs overnight and were really distressed for getting the food grains. The various state governments came up, like for example, the Social Justice Department of UP, Bihar, PDS, and midday meal of the skills and the cash transfer under the food security program by various states have actually helped in disbursing for new 65 such schemes, which the states immediately onboarded on PFMS, so that a lot of relief can be provided to these persons and the women workers as well as the women under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Sahayata Yojana. Next, please. This is the continuous chart wherein we can see Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. I'm not discussing this chart right now here because we'll be doing it in the dashboard slide pertaining to each state. Next, please. This is for Arunachal Pradesh. As you can see that it is listing those centrally sponsored schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Guarantee Program or the state-linked scheme, wherein the state has created another scheme linked to the main scheme of the central government, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan under ISSC, etc. So in this way, one can clearly have a feel that a lot of beneficiaries are covered and they actually get these benefits deposited in their accounts. Next, please. Yes, next, please. As you can see here, Arunachal Pradesh is highlighted. So you can see that in Arunachal Pradesh, the number of total beneficiaries on the top are shown and the total payment which is released in lakhs is also shown, their gender segregation and which is the bank. As you can see, the State Bank of India with the highest number of beneficiaries is the nationalized bank, which is the major bank for DBT payment in Arunachal Pradesh. Next, please. This is for Assam. Assam also has a lot of centrally sponsored schemes and state government schemes where the complete money is funded by the state government. As you can see, we can see the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. They have another state government scheme. Then Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, which is a centrally sponsored schemes for the mothers. Like that, state government schemes, state linked schemes, centrally sponsored scheme, and central sector schemes where the complete funding is by the center. You get a complete idea about how many beneficiaries are paid, how many transactions have happened, and how much is the total amount paid to Assam on a daily basis. Next slide, please. This is for the state of Assam. Same statistics here. Assam Gramin Vikas Bank is the highest, having the highest beneficiary amongst the beneficiaries in Assam, and the total payments are 270,453 lakhs to Assam during the period from 24th March to 25th August. Next, please. These are the schemes for Manipur, which is one of the state which has figured into this discussion. A lot of efforts have gone into creation of beneficiaries and to ensure the funds are released to them in time. Next, please. Next slide, please. This is the slide. This is the dashboard for Manipur. Manipur is, you can see that State Bank of India and Manipur Rural Bank. These are the two banks who are having the maximum beneficiaries in Manipur. And you can also check for each beneficiary who is registered in that particular bank, whether the payment is Aadhaar based or it is account based, when was the payment credited by the ministry, and when is the payment received by the beneficiary, whether is there any time lag or is there any reason why there is a pendency. All these things I am not able to show here because these are the screenshots of the actual dashboard. But in the actual dashboard, you can go to as much granularity as you want in respect of these schemes. Next, please. These are the state-wise DBT schemes for Meghalaya. Next, please. These are the DBT payments wherein Meghalaya, this is the dashboard screenshot for Meghalaya. As you can see, the number of payments which have peaked in July 2020. This was in fact, the payments were pushed to a large extent, and as DBT Mission has said, more than 120% increase has happened during the COVID times, and the monitoring has also become acute. And you can see that here the Meghalaya Rural Bank and the State Bank of India has ensured that most of the payments are gone into the accounts of the beneficiaries. Next, please. These are the list of the Mizoram. Can we go to the next slide, please, where we can see the Mizoram's dashboard. Here, Mizoram Rural Bank has done a wonderful job, and almost more than 90% of the beneficiaries are the account holders of Mizoram Rural Bank. As you can see here also, the number of beneficiaries have seen a tremendous increase during the COVID times. Month-wise details we are shown in the down below. The schemes where maximum amount has been credited is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Yojana, which has ensured that those who have lost their work, their families are taken care of, and the basic minimum is ensured to them. Next, please. These are the state-wise DBT schemes of Nagaland, which include centrally sectors, central sponsored and state-linked schemes. The total transactions and the huge amount that has been paid to the beneficiaries can be seen. Even the scholarships to the students and the pensions to the disabled, as well as the widow pension, is seen in this list. Next, please. This is the dashboard for Nagaland. You can see that the State Bank of India and the Nagaland State Cooperative Bank, these two constitute maximum beneficiaries of the DBT benefits in this state. And you see that August is the largest payment up till now in the for this state of Nagaland. Next, please. Sikkim. Here, same thing. You can see in the dashboard. Next, please. In the Matru Vandana Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana and the NRHM, National Rural Health Mission, as well as the National Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and Rural Guarantee Yojana for the Manrega is the highest benefit that is given, that has been given in the people from Tripura and Sikkim. Next, please. This is for Tripura. Tripura being one of the state that is discussion, I would like to spend a minute on this at least. Tripura Gramin Bank with highest number of beneficiaries and Tripura State Cooperative Bank along with United Bank of India have taken a major share in ensuring that maximum benefits are paid. Manrega is again the scheme under which highest amount has gone to the beneficiaries account and ensured job for them, followed by Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Yojana. As you are aware, on 9th August 2020, 17,000 crore was paid in the accounts of 8.5 crore farmers, and all these payments mean a lot to these unprivileged and distressed people during the COVID times. Next, please. We can skip this. Next, please. This also will skip. Yeah, we can skip this also. I think the one which I want to show is after this. There was a mention by one of the speakers, yeah, here, that the monitoring needs to be much more strengthened to ensure that the social benefits do not face this service delivery deficit to the citizens. And I think all these systems are well built in a robust way in the Public Financial Management System, PFMS, so that the agency's bank accounts are mapped. So you actually know whether the accounts are having any float and the money is actually not disbursed to the corresponding agency or the beneficiary. Next, please. Next slide, please. You can skip this. Yeah, just before this, I'll take 1 minute in explaining about the two things which were mentioned by the earlier speakers. One is grievance addressal. I would like to tell you that there is one help desk which receives the grievances through email, which is manned by 10 persons from the PFMS, and ensure that within 2 days these grievances are addressed to. In addition to that, there is a call center which is run by 10 persons, 12 hours, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on all the days, including Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays. So you can see this facility is available for 365 days for grievance addressal, and all the grievances or doubts or queries related to PFMS in respect of ministries, their different schemes, DBT, or any technicalities is taken care of. In addition to that, in all the 36 state and UT directorates, which are based in the capital of each state or UT, which is manned by a state nodal officer and assistant state nodal officer, and there are about 8 to 10 technical engineering staff who take care of the grievances and do the hand holding and capacity building for PFMS. There is the capacity building and hand holding is a major activity that is taken care of, so that the deficit, the lag between the actual schemes, the implementing agency and the citizens can be bridged to a large extent. In fact, I would like to thank BTCA, UNDP and DBT Mission, as well as Mr. Kayong from BTCA, Mr. Amit from BTCA, for giving me this opportunity to interact with you and actually to learn with you. Seven Sisters is very dear to us, and we will be very happy to see that more and more beneficiaries and citizens are able to reap the benefits of DBT. 100% is the target in front of us. All the best.
Rekha-ji, thank you so much. Yes, indeed, Amit. This was a great session with you, Rekha-ji, and I'm sure, like everyone else, we would love to have more time. I know that the allocated time for this learning session, we are running a bit late, but I do want to request that if we can spend the next couple minutes having a short discussion, if that would be okay with all the participants on the line. We have about 30 participants on the line from the various states as well as the other stakeholders. Please note that you are all welcome to post your questions, your feedback, or lessons from your own states in the chat box, or even directly to us. You are in touch with Sumanji, our colleague from the Alliance. They will be compiled and responded to, even if we don't get through all of them in today's session. And with this, then, may I request for some feedback or even sharing of some lessons from our delegation from Sikkim, reflecting on the recommendations from the DBT digitization and what are the key opportunities to sort of really improve that last mile service delivery and usage of digital payments in the state of Sikkim. Of course, I'm singling out Sikkim here because it is the 8th state of all the sisters. But anybody, please feel free to jump in and help us kick off this important part of this learning session. It's always harder to break the ice. If it's not Sikkim, maybe ask any other states to also reflect on their own journey. I know that we have fantastic participation also from Nagaland and as well as Arunachal. Would anybody like to speak at this point? I think you'll be forcing me to call on someone. Well, maybe I can do the easiest thing and request Mr. Kabilan from Niti Aayog to say a few words.
Yeah, thanks, Kizom. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Mr. Kabilan.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank BMTC for kind of inviting me. And I'm very happy to see that I'm kind of seeing my former colleagues also here who had worked with me at some point of time in my service. So I'm very happy to see Tali sir. I'm very happy to see Rekha ma'am also. Happy to see Tiwari sir also. So I'm very happy to see all of them. Coming to this particular initiative of BMTC as well as Government of India, I'd like to just give some small context here because Northeast states are by themselves have been given special constitutional provisions, be it panchayats, be it scheduled and tribal areas. There are temporary and special and transitional provisions. So because of the uniqueness of the 8 sisters, they have been given those flexibility in governance mechanisms. And as far as the Cash for Alliance as well as the DBT mission, it's a visionary scheme of the Honorable Prime Minister of India that we have to include everyone as far as financial inclusion is concerned. I personally feel that using financial technology as well as RegTech, which is kind of most of the states as well as the central governments deal with these problems when implementing a tech-based initiative, is always finding the issue of old rules and new technologies, because these don't sync together until and unless we kind of work on the rules part and subsequently we kind of digitize it and simplify it. Then there's the way forward. Because if we see most of our systems we have taken from the UK system of governance, they did something called a red tape challenge in the Royal Government of Britain somewhere in 2011, and they did a lot of government process re-engineering, and subsequently they digitized their systems. So that had helped a lot as far as delivery of public services are concerned. The other thing which I would like to mention here is like change is the only truth which we'll have to see that is applicable to both pre-COVID and post-COVID also. And because of tech, we are still able to connect, though we are not able to physically meet. I would love to meet all of you at some point of time, maybe later. That will be great, but we should be thankful to tech, and we should be able to use tech for the right kind of reasons. The other point which I would like to reiterate here is like be it Northeastern region or any other region, when we are coming with any tech-based initiative or intervention, as massive as intervention as like the DBT, capacity building is very, very important. And thanks to organizations like BTCI and all other development partners, the capacity building part has been kind of addressed. As mentioned by one of our colleagues, Mr. Arun from CABSEC, which is where he mentioned that the monitoring and evaluation part is kind of the weak link, and that's where we need to kind of focus our strengths on. So with these comments, I thank BTCA, the DBT mission, our friends, all of our friends from Northeast, Rekha ma'am, thank you very much for making this initiative, and keep going. All the very best. Niti Aayog would love to support all these initiatives. We are open for these kind of initiatives, and tech is the silver bullet which is going to take India to the next level. Thank you very much. All the best.
Mr. Kabilan, thank you so much for these helpful remarks, and also of the commitment from Niti Aayog towards the Northeast region. I know that gender inclusion is an important agenda in the DBT digital transfers, and we have the pleasure of having Rupak ji online from Assam. Would love to hear from you, as well as I'm sure others, on how that that last mile delivery to ensure that women have both access in terms of accounts and the infrastructure that goes with opening an account, plus also access in terms of cash out, being able to do that without having to walk miles and miles. And then lastly, how to continue using it, whether to pay for utilities and other services. How is Assam thinking of some of these interventions as you design your next couple DBT schemes targeting COVID-19 recovery? Rupak ji, would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Ma'am, good afternoon, and hello to all the participants. So as far as Assam is concerned, after the COVID-19 lockdown, people were very apprehensive, and they were afraid. In fact, the women particularly did not come out of their houses also. Containment zones were there, and people did not know what to do. So we needed some time for the people to know as to what should be done as far as COVID is concerned. But then DBT started long ago, and we had this Jan Dhan Yojana. I don't have the data now, but then by and large, people were very receptive, and the progress was very good. From that point of view, the correspondents also put in their best efforts. We had been by and large good, but then, as you know, we have had some problems regarding implementation of Aadhaar. And for that, actually, we had only piloted the Aadhaar in certain districts. So that's why we're lagging a bit behind. You might have seen in the news, ma'am, 3-4 days back, what happened is suddenly for all the benefits under the PNRD department, suddenly this news was spread by the panchayats saying that Aadhaar is compulsory. So in the town, there are 1 or 2 centers where there have been huge loads of people, and they have violated all social distancing norms. So it has become a problem with the administration. So this comes as a ball from the blue. So again, the administration has to pacify them and tell them that, okay, we have to take things in stride and not rush through it. So since yesterday, again, things have come under control. So these are incidents which keep happening, but by and large, ma'am, we are progressing well, and we hope to fulfill the aspirations of the people, and we are going ahead in the right direction. So I don't have any data with me right now, ma'am, but it was a wonderful experience participating with all of you. And I'm sure we'll keep on interacting, and we'll have the best of the benefits which are given by the Government of India. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Rupak ji. And your mention of Aadhaar reminded me of that important recommendation that DBT mission was also putting forward, in that Aadhaar is optional but not a requirement to of course receive DBT transfers, as well as of course open bank accounts. So thank you for that very important point, and for the great progress. May I also request our colleagues from Meghalaya, Sangma ji, you are on the line. and whether, again, dwelling on this topic of last mile inclusion, what are some of the key opportunity areas in Meghalaya that you are seeing that you would love to share with other states on the line, as well as perhaps even learn from the other states on the line? Sangmaji, over to you.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Hello.
We can hear you, Sangmaji.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. So as far as situation is Meghalaya is concerned with respect to DBT, what happens? We have a lot of area which are inaccessible and where there is a problem of connectivity. So there are certain dark areas and certain gray areas which we have mapped actually, and they are a big handicap in last mile delivery. When you talk about benefits and all to villages which are far flung. So that is a major challenge actually. And in fact, we had earlier a lot of meetings in Meghalaya and also with DBT mission also to overcome this problem. That how to overcome this challenge of connectivity, which is very much essential as far as using DBT mode of payment or beneficiary payment to people in far-flung areas of Meghalaya is concerned. So we have a problem of terrain, we have a problem of remoteness in many areas, especially Garo Hills, wherein we don't have connectivity. Either it is not there through dark area, or even if it is there, it's like gray area that we don't have proper connectivity. So of course we had we have deliberated it quite a lot. How to overcome this with the through the involvement of India Post, through the engagement of CSCs, and also through BSNL and other providers. So of course, but still it remains a challenge as far as Meghalaya is concerned so far. Though there are some leeways, but still it's a major concern which I feel on behalf of Meghalaya as far as DBT is concerned. But it concerns last mile payment or beneficiary orientation. As far as cities are concerned, or certain areas which are near headquarters or in Khasi Hills, so it's not a problem at all. But when you take overall, especially in Garo Hills, which are very remote areas, then we have this handicap as of now, due to which we have a problem. And another thing is, of course, that is a general problem in Northeast, that Aadhaar penetration, because of certain reasons, so which is very low. It's almost 1/3 right now at present. So of course we have taken up with the concerned department in Meghalaya, GAD, General Administration Department, to increase the Aadhaar penetration by way of delegating this power to DCs, Deputy Commissioners, and we hope it will increase quite fast in future. But still, I think that the connectivity aspect is still taking us back as far as success of DBT is concerned in whole of Meghalaya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sangmaji, for these remarks. And you're right, there are still a few key infrastructure pieces of work that is, happening at a faster pace that needs to be in place. So thank you for sharing these helpful feedback, and great to hear about the progress. May I also request our Joint Secretary from Tripura, Mr. Sarkar, maybe I should say Sarkarji, to please also just share, as a leader, I believe, among the Northeast states, and not just the Northeast, but as a proud leader nationwide in DBT transfers, to share, a few thoughts on what would be great learning agenda items that we could also help take forward as a learning platform across the Northeast region to continue this, these kinds of sessions beyond today to really focus on some of the key aspects of opportunities that are coming up. Sarkarji, are you on the line? Our Joint Secretary from Tripura. I know that there have been some connectivity issues as well.
Ma'am, am I audible now?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this forum. Ma'am, to tell you, Tripura is one of the few states in the entire country, in fact, to start digital payment system through our treasury, online treasury system. So our treasury is fully integrated with the PFMS. That is one good point we have. And apart from that, ma'am, we are regularly in touch with the PFMS Deputy Mission, Government of India. So we are regularly trying to put everything on track so that we can go for 100% digitization and PFMS based payment. And our other coverage also, ma'am, it is quite good. As we have seen that it is more than 88%. So we are also going for like almost, if it is not possible 100%, at least to reach near to 100. Ma'am. So in near future, so from our state government, we are trying our level best to make everything on track so that everything happens digitally in the state. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarkarji. And some of the comments that are coming in from others is that, access to mobile phones, connectivity, and then awareness among citizens for digital economy is a must. The Northeast is, the gateway to Southeast Asia is also part of how the aspirations towards $1 trillion and many crore digital economy aspirations of the Government of India. So this is, a great infrastructure that's already in place to really help uplift people, empower everyone, including women and the vulnerable. And I know that we are already over time and we have 4 more minutes left. Would anybody else like to share their ideas of what some of the next learning sessions could focus on? If you have any. If you don't have any right now, please do write to us. You are in touch with our colleague Suman Seth. So please, over to anybody who would like to have the mic. Well, with this, we have one last comment that NGOs must continue to play a very important role, particularly local NGOs, community-based NGOs, and we've seen that as very strong assets, especially in the Northeast. So I couldn't agree more, and we see that as a great way to ensure that the digital infrastructure and the DPT transfers have a real impact for the people. And with this, then, may I just thank everyone for your participation. In particular, thank you to Tiwari Saab, who is a great collaborator, and Arun, Rekha ji from the PFMS Ministry of Finance, our colleagues from across the central government, and NPCI, who's been on the line with us. And of course, most importantly, to you who are doing such important work in the Northeast region. We look forward to continuing to create platforms of learning and of being helpful, hopefully, to your very important work at the last mile. With this, I will officially close the learning session for today. Thank you so much Mr. Kabilan, also for your participation. A good evening to everyone.
Thank you, President. Pleasure. Yeah.